Okay, well, everybody, week 5 is now in the books, and we are heading into week 6. Welcome to episode 6 of the League of Ordinary Jabronis. This time I'm going to pronounce it all the way correctly when I'm introducing the podcast, and I actually have a really exciting thing to start us out with. Ben and I conspired a little bit to create this and put it together for you, Skot. So I will be delivering this to you next time it is an option, but I'm going to try and get this in here. But we have a framed Kyle Pitts pinup for you that I will be delivering as soon as possible to you for your enjoyment.
Now you just locked Kyle Pitts onto my roster until he's dead.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Display that in your house where people can see.
Yeah, we need you to. I mean, it's acceptable if it goes in the the bathroom.
Kelly will not let that be just like when you walk into our house. Is just who's that dude?
Yeah,
like,
it's Kyle Pitts, the pinup right there. No, I think it has to go
here,
like.
Though,
yeah, in the room.
Podcast,
yeah, exactly. Like I want to see Kyle Pitts every week. We're doing this damn
it'll be
podcast.
Like over my shoulder. I'll pick which speaker to put it above. Or
Perfect. Yeah. So
if you ever trade him, if you ever trade Kyle Pitts,
the poster goes too. Yeah, the poster goes too.
I don't know. At this stage, it's looking like no one would ever really want Kyle Pitts except me. So I don't know.
He's yours forever. Hooray! But yeah, so I couldn't wait to get that. That's why I'm late recording tonight, is getting that together for you. So that is how we start things off. That's our opening. But yeah, how was your week? How was your fantasy week?
I finally won. I was happy about that. I managed to put together a week and scored points and didn't choke and didn't face Trevor, so that was good.
Yeah, fair, absolutely fair. Although the sort of scoring the highest points in the league, bar one honor, falls to it was Josh this week, right?
It was Kelsey.
It was Josh.
It was Josh who fell to Kelsey by about 5 points, right?
224 points to Kelsey's 229. That is madness.
Insane. And so I mean, after last week and now this week, maybe we should consider that league median again. I know. I don't think so, no. But
no, that's a well-earned win and a absolutely great, heartbreaking loss. You should feel bad because of that loss.
Absolutely.
I feel bad about losing to Steve. But that is because
my guys have entirely career games on offense, like bar none.
And I understand why they kept Aaron Jones out. They're going into a bye. Like, if you don't need you have a weird game in London, don't fuck it up. I get that, but
they were way ahead anyway. Like, the Jets suck.
The Andy Dalton turned into a pumpkin, and Deshaun Watson still sucks. That's pretty much what happened. Is those two that's other than Lamar going absolutely off.
Lamar had a crazy game. I mean, it's not often you get 40 out of your quarterback, so I was pretty happy about that. Overtime also has a tendency.
40 out of your quarterback, Scott.
That game felt like it was 12 quarters long. Like, it was still going, and then it kept going, and then they kept scoring points, and then Lamar came back on the field, and then Josh Allen, and then Lamar, and it was just like...
It was Burrow.
Did you see that Kirk Cousins has threw for more yards in that game than the Chargers, than Justin Herbert has all season?
Yeah, I saw that.
It's like... Okay,
that's hilarious.
You got to understand that the NFL,
for sure, but
not college. You cannot just run the ball.
No.
That's kind of been my gripe though with the season so far. Is I'm watching all these teams play, and it's like the Chiefs are a major offender of this, in my opinion. Is they just are so focused on running the ball that there's no incompletions, and the games are just super slow. And then there's a flag, and then they run the ball again, and they burn off another 45 seconds.
They go quickly, and there's very little excitement.
And lots of commercials.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Because there's a lot of time, and TV timeouts ultimately is the big thing in that circumstance.
Because they got to stop the clock somehow.
Right.
Like that Giants game last week, or it was 2 weeks ago, broke me because it was just like
the one against
12 play drive, field goal, run the ball, short screen pass, run the ball, short screen pass, run the ball, bomb, miss, run the ball, and it's 4th down. We're gonna kick a field goal. And then this last week against the Seahawks, they did the same shit, but it was run the ball, screen pass, run the ball, screen pass, fumble, interception, return, touchdown. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, it's not sexy, but it is winning football if you want to play the possession game, start to wear the clock down, prevent your opponent from getting points.
Well,
like, it makes sense from the analytics perspective, but it's not exciting to watch. That's the drag, right?
Daboll was doing this. He did it against the Seahawks, and it worked because the Seahawks played like absolute trash. But
right,
it didn't work earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, for the Giants, the problem is that you needed a competent squad, generally.
You need an
and they're near the bottom of the NFL in like everything. So like
Well, yeah. I mean, wasted probably the one good week of Dexter Lawrence, but I knew that was going to happen. Like,
yeah, rip,
dude. The Seahawks interior of the offense line is just like, yeah,
it was tissue paper.
Has not been fixed, which was not surprising at all.
Very impressive showing.
You had a schematic and personnel problem there last year, and maybe the schematic problem is being eased out of right now, but it's like it takes time to do an install like that. It's not reasonable to expect it to change entirely in one off season.
Well, it's also that one of the Connor Williams might be a good center, but Laken Tomlinson is probably over the hill. The rookie Christian Hayes, did he start? I don't know if he started.
Yeah, I think they had to.
Yeah, so a 3rd round rookie started who's older and could be good by the end of the year, but also started against
still needs the live reps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about a trial by fire. I mean, shit.
Yeah. It wasn't unsurprising that Dexter Lawrence had a career day and where he could just hey, there's a gap next to the center where there's a rookie, and I'm better than both of these guys.
And I'm just gonna it'll be fine. Go straight to the quarterback.
Because Dexter Lawrence is I don't know. There's an argument for anywhere in the top 7 linemen for him.
Yeah,
except for number 1.
I mean,
I don't think you can say number 1.
For DL, no, I don't think he lands at number 1, but he's been consistently good for long enough that he's underrated.
Well, he's also one of one. How many nose tackles are there that are 3 down linemen? I mean, him.
Well, the other thing about the Seahawks though is that it was a full team loss. They were just bad on both sides of the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Gino, Neil, he ran and then instead of diving for a first down, maybe he just misjudged where the line was. Put us in a situation where it was fourth and a foot as opposed to a first down. And
the clear first. That's rough.
Tyler Lockett had an awesome opportunity to maybe even juke a defender and get a touchdown, but he just gave himself up when there was maybe 4 yards in any direction before someone even tried to tackle him.
Lockett fainting goated.
JSN had a really, really bad drop on a 3rd down, which basically forced us to punt or try a field goal. I can't remember. And then DK fumbled again and lost it. It's just and then Ryan Grubbs calls 5 running plays the whole game with Kenneth Walker.
That's rough. Yeah.
What are we doing?
How do you get away from the run that bad? You guys weren't even down for most of the game,
we weren't.
Right?
They just decided they ran once and it was a 2-yard loss and it was basically we're not going to do that again, I guess. Even though the game
I'm sorry, that's not how running works.
It was a really, really questionable game from the coaching staff.
Is this your offensive coordinator's first time?
Yeah, he
came up from the college game which is a huge jump. Like, he is clearly going through growing pains, as is most of the coaching staff. Like, it's pretty clear that, like, there's some
that
stuff
has to happen. That has to
it
happen.
has to happen. Yeah. It's just like,
it's a disappointing product
day,
to watch, but it has to happen.
Well, at the end of the day, yes, it does have to happen. But if you want to go 9 and like 8 or whatever, like 9 or whatever the actual records are now, like Pete Carroll could have done that. It's fine.
Right.
Like, when you change coaches, no matter what the circumstances are, the idea is that you are going to get better. Like, it is not like getting rid of your quarterback and being like, we're going to draft one and get worse. Like, that's not how coaching changes work.
I think that if you're talking about first-time coordinators and first-time head coaches, like, you can expect a little bit of a dip before things pick back up. I mean, not
that's fair, but you are also saying
that's the first-timer thing, not more than the coaching. Like, I don't disagree with you that you're expecting over the grand arc of the hire, things to get better and be better, and you hope for better out of whoever your head coaching replacement is. I mean, like. Yeah, the Seahawks have I think they made a good hire, but I mean, time will tell, right?
It's also like injuries.
The thing is, though, with Ryan Grubb, so our new offensive coordinator who came from the University of Washington, who is just in a national.
You mean Alabama legend Ryan Grubb?
You could tell that he has a lot of tendencies to do college things and try college things in the pro game, and it just doesn't work. Like, there were multiple plays, and I've noticed this throughout the season, where they do the college thing where they line up and then they let Geno read the defense, and then it's like you look to the sideline for the call, basically, and then they're rearranging shit as the play clock is clicking down past 15 seconds.
Okay.
And then they get confused because they're at home and it's loud. And then they have to burn a timeout, and that's happened multiple times this year so far.
Yeah. Okay. So that's clearly an operational thing that can be sorted, though. But it's something that's not getting sorted because you have a first-time head coach and a first-time play caller, and like
from the college level.
From the college level, never done it at the NFL level. So like I totally see the frustration, right? Like, that makes perfect sense.
The other thing is you gotta hope it gets better. The expectation with McDaniel coming over from the Ravens was that we're getting rid of Pete Carroll. The defense has to be better. And through 5 games, it's been better-ish. Like, there's 2 games in a row now we've seen basically all the same things that we saw with Pete Carroll.
I actually am not as worried about that as like the general fan base is, because if you remember, the Ravens also fucking sucked until they got Roquan.
Yeah.
Their defense was really, really bad until they got Roquan.
Until they had a guy in the middle. Yeah.
Who you can leverage everything off of, whether or not, like, whatever look Roquan can make up for. Like, that's the reason you get that guy.
Yep.
And so it's not surprising because Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dotson are not that dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's a position of serious need for the Seahawks at this point. It
has been ever since Bobby Wagner started to decline.
I don't think
I
don't think we need like a super high-end linebacker. I think the line on both sides has been the issue for years. Like,
but for
needs on both sides.
The thing is, it's like
the line.
The Seahawks' problem is consistently the run defense, right?
Yeah, I mean they have
more than anything else, right? If we're talking about the Seahawks and defense and like the specific weakness, we're talking about run defense and screen defense, right?
Well, okay, I'll give you the 3 reasons why those have been the issues for the longest time. The screen is because we lost KJ Wright and there was no one else to call out screens.
No one else can do it.
He was doing that, and
he was watching it. Yeah, exactly.
The second thing was just general run defense. The Seahawks run defense became bad after they got rid of Bobby and Jamal Adams stopped like being healthy, because
absolutely, because Jamal was going to be the replacement, and so we're talking about 2 main linebackers in the center of the defense, right?
Yeah. Well, Jamal Adams is supposed to be a nickel safety.
No. Jamal Adams is not being healthy is a entirely different thing. I mean, but my point is that the problems with the run defense started with the loss of KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner, and those are key middle of the defense kinds of guys.
They were also the best linebacker duo for like 10 years.
For like 10 years, and it's something to rely on, and the Seahawks weren't able to replace that, but the scheme relies on great linebacker play.
Well,
Or
we
at least
switched from
Ravens
4-3 to 3-4, and
3-4 and are now back, right? To 4-3?
No,
if
you're making that kind of change, it's like getting a left-handed quarterback. Like you need to completely shift your personnel in order.
I mean, that's what the Packers defense is dealing with right now, is going from 3-4 to 4-3, and like having the same personnel and having built for a 3-4 for a long time, and now being in 4-3. I mean, it's part of why they're having such a struggle.
Well, also, both of our teams have been doing the Vic Fangio thing. We've dabbled in trying predominantly
with Joe Barry's. Exactly.
We're like trying to purge that from our system still.
Exactly. Both teams are trying to get the fuck out of that, because it's like, oh, this doesn't work actually.
But to put a cap on the conversation about McDonald, though, it's the thing that I'm most looking forward to. Like, I'm not sold on him like long term at this point. It's still like a wait and see. I'm not just like delusional and saying like, oh, he's way better than Pete Carroll. I'm glad Pete Carroll's gone. It's like we replaced him for a reason.
Right.
What I'm expecting is progress against things that we struggled the most with, which was defending against the run and beating our fucking division rivals. Like I need McDonald to show that he can at least play the 49ers close in every game this year. If he can't do that, then I'm going to be really worried about him going forward.
So then this week is going to be big for y'all.
We can't lose to the Rams.
Yeah, we can't be losing to the Rams. Like,
you can't lose to the Rams this year. Holy shit, you can't. They're so bad.
McVay and Shanahan have just been walking over Pete for years at this point, and it's embarrassing.
The Packers felt like they won that game against the Rams pretty handily with huge mistake. Like, I was not worried throughout most of that game that the Packers were going to win, and there were tremendous mistakes on both sides of the ball.
The Rams are also.
If the Seahawks don't trounce them, you are really in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, but the division games are always weird.
More importantly, right, imminent, like tomorrow night, or tonight as this releases, typically. That's going to be a big game. It's going to be a huge one.
It matters.
I'm not going to be able to watch it, unfortunately, but it will be a huge thing for McDonald. I hope the Seahawks come away with the win, because fuck the 49ers forever.
Yeah, at least we can agree on that.
That's the one thing we all agree on for the rest of time. Fuck the goddamn 49ers. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be a fun scene.
Yeah,
Joe, you had some shit you wanted to talk about with in terms of fantasy, so let's get into that now that we've done some ball talk for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think since it's now week 2 of the buys officially in the books, it's time to talk about actually how they affect Dynasty and the way that we play. Because there are some teams that are definitely impacted more by buys, and not just because of the randomness of when teams get assigned buys.
Right, because it changes every year. Ultimately, you're not going to get a consistent buy schedule, and it's not something you can manipulate around like you do in redraft. Like, it's a consideration in redraft. So
yeah, and sometimes you just get screwed. Like Steve you've got both of your quarterbacks out in the same week, and that's why you're holding on to Rodgers.
So yeah, exactly. It's generally the least consequential week in fantasy, or it's the most consequential week for your team in fantasy.
Yeah.
And in week 14, that's why I have to burn a roster spot on Aaron goddamn Rodgers for a while, because there's no other quarterbacks worth the salt sitting around on the waiver wire. You heathens.
Yeah. Thank God for Drake May.
Well, that's another consequential game this week, actually, is if Drake May starts. But yeah, we'll put the ball talk aside for now.
He will.
But I mean,
the example that I want to use, though, to start off the conversation about how buys impact Dynasty, is my 2 important buys are last week and this week, because they impact my offensive players the most at the most key positions. So last week, I was expecting to not have AJ Brown. I haven't had AJ Brown for the entire season, but that's like kind of here nor there. But going into it, that means not only do I not have him, I didn't have Calvin Ridley. So like, not that that really mattered, but like that loses another offensive roster spot. Also didn't have like Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's 3 major like offensive pieces I cannot go find on the waiver wire. Like this week, like in week 6, I mean, that's the next one. Like Aaron Jones is out. He was hurt, so that's fine. But like, can't like the pivoting that you are able to do, especially with the offensive premium in this league. Like you just can't do it. And there's no way to get around it. Like unless you go out and make a trade, which is like, if you're needing wins because you're down bad enough where that makes sense for you, I guess. But like,
I don't think it typically makes sense to be trading for the bye week.
Not for bye weeks or like,
and
like,
we specifically disallow
term.
rentals, so
I mean,
it's not like that's reasonable.
I think it's reasonable.
I could see why one would do it
to prepare.
Maybe later in the season.
I've done that
to prepare for bye. I could see, but not. I don't think you should put yourself in a situation where you're coming down to crunch time. Like, oh shit, I done myself dirty. Like that's.
One of the reasons I traded for Mike Evans is because he was like, that's a gettable player because of age and all that stuff, but also like didn't have a bye week until week 14. Like that helps me push off these 2 bye weeks by having another guy I can put in. Because like if I didn't have him, like I wouldn't even have gotten close to maybe staging a comeback against Steve this week.
You were close.
Yeah.
The planning, like when you're looking at your season week 1 and you are looking at what your bye week hell is going to look like, it definitely helps to be prepared. And then also it also helps to kind of bake in certain weeks as just being losses because you have so many players that are out. Like this week I'm hurting. I have a shit ton of shares of the Minnesota Vikings, obviously.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's because you decided that the Vikings were your team.
And there's a lot of that wasn't by choice.
That makes sense.
But the situation that you have to deal with is basically, do I just plan for an L that week and hope it doesn't matter, or do I make trades to try and turn that pretty much definite L into a competitive week? I personally prefer to just have the automatic L week and just get it over with and have most of my players that are important out early. But I don't know. Bye weeks are such a inconsequential part of the game, but then also so important at the same time. It's kind of strange.
I mean, it's literally the difference between Joe's victory and defeat this week. Like,
yeah, because if I think I would say Jahmyr Gibbs, like
consequentially, I'm out. I lose this game.
Yeah,
like that is without a doubt. I don't have any doubt in my mind that if Gibbs or Brown play this week, honestly, if one of them plays this week,
that's the funny thing.
I have a chance of being done.
But
because they're both out.
Even though Joe has his main players out this week, let's say you're going up against Joe and he's in bye week hell, because of the doctrine of any given Sunday, he could still win because his backup player that he puts in, has a career day for no reason, and that's the most frustrating way to lose. I hate when that happens. Like, look at this guy; he has to play Scotty Miller. I'm good.
That's when,
and then Scotty Miller gets 3 touchdowns and 150 yards, and you're like, "What the fuck happened?"
It doesn't matter what team Scotty Miller plays for. Start him against the Packers.
Scotty Miller's scarred, Steve.
It's true.
It's ruined. Dude, you have no idea. That name ruins Packer fans. Everybody just goes down a peg when we have to think about Scotty Miller again.
We
don't hate the Bucks like we hate the 49ers, but we all hate Scotty fucking Miller.
Well, real quick, that actually brings up a really funny topic that I want to talk about real quick. So, who is your fantasy boogeyman or boogeyman of the past? I'll start. So for me, and this is the player that whenever you go against them, it's just like that guy goes fucking off every time, and I hate that player.
I got a couple of them.
Yeah. So for me, it was always Todd Gurley. Always Todd Gurley.
Sure.
Every time I play against Todd Gurley, it was a guaranteed 40-point game. Yeah. Every single time I'd play against Todd Gurley. I hated Todd Gurley. And I never got... The one year I did get Todd Gurley was like the year he started falling apart. And he totally fucking
That's always how it goes.
The year you got him was the year his knee exploded.
And then the same thing happened to me with Julio Jones. It's like every single time I'd play against Julio Jones, he would have his vintage 270-yard game with 0 touchdowns against me. And then when I would draft him, hamstrings are gone already, and so on and so forth. But I'm curious what you guys must have boogeymen. Who are they?
Chubb.
Kamara. Oh yes, I remember. I played Chubb his rookie year against
Chubb
you,
and Kamara have ruined me every single time, and I've never had the year I picked up Chubb in redraft was last year.
Nice.
So, it's a very similar story there.
That's how you slay the boogeyman, is you actually get them on your team.
You pick them up in redraft. Yeah, exactly. And then you ruin their careers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say I have a boogeyman currently. I don't have a boogeyman currently, but those two, Julio Jones,
Chubb may be back.
Yeah, that's true.
It's cemented Lamar, because every time I play against Lamar, he goes the fuck off.
It's like a weird divisional game, and then they just go absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he's it's always something weird too, where it's he throws for way more touchdowns than you thought, and he also runs for 100 yards, or he's just running for 3 touchdowns because whatever.
Why not?
Yeah, and it's just random Lamar bullshit because of Lamar doing Lamar stuff.
Right.
It also probably skews my perception of why I think Lamar's so good, other than the fact that he is very good.
Because every single time he's playing against you, and you're like, "No, why another touchdown? Are you kidding me? You already have 4, and now you're getting a running touchdown." No, stop.
Why is this?
You guys can't tackle Lamar. He's running for 100 yards on you. What's going on here?
Just tackle him. He's a quarterback.
What is this?
He's not anymore, which is wild. That's the biggest change for the Ravens this year, right? Is that Lamar's not the best running back on the team?
Well, no, he's still better than. No, he's still the best running back.
Is Lamar better at rushing than Derrick Henry?
Yes.
We're saying that.
Yes, definitively yes.
No way.
He's more elusive. He's
maybe
not as strong.
2024 Lamar versus 2024 Derrick Henry, but yeah, I think
just asking who's the best one on the team, not if he's the best.
Sure. But no, man. Derrick Henry still has a lot of gas in the fucking tank. I'm not willing to say that he's worse than Lamar Jackson as a runner. Lamar is maybe more elusive, but I still think Derrick Henry's better. And I think that the aspect of his physicality is what makes him better. And I think that is something that is underrated in runners today because people don't commit to the run the same way anymore.
What's interesting to watch as the season goes along is every time the Ravens are down, they just use Justice Hill. They don't use Derrick Henry, so
they expect Justice Hill. They don't trust Derrick Henry to catch passes, which is wild. It's a great part. He's not bad at it.
He's also
it's a good part of his game.
Throwing the ball. The dude has 4 passing. Yeah,
he's got 5 passing touchdowns. Yeah, I think some of that is early season shit. Keep as much tread on Derrick Henry as you can for the postseason.
Actually, I take that back. I think Derrick Henry is my boogeyman because now that I think about it, every single time I've played him in the last couple of years, he just goes crazy. There was the year that he destroyed the Seahawks in overtime.
Yeah,
and then Danny this weekend it was the nightmare game where the game just wouldn't end, and then I look up. And Derrick Henry is just breaking off another 55-yard run in overtime. I'm no, I'm having flashbacks.
Anytime the words Derrick Henry and overtime are put in the same sentence, it's a nightmare for fantasy opponents. Yeah. If you have Derrick Henry and you see the game has gone into overtime, you are just loving it. Because holy shit, that is Derrick Henry's time to shine. He's going to break off an 80-yard run for a touchdown at some that's just gonna happen.
Bruising, any of the bruisers, the actual true RB1 bruisers. That's true for Derek Montgomery, James Conner,
Derek
Henry.
Montgomery. You mean David?
David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other Demo. Anyway,
Demo. Yeah, D-Hen, Demo.
yeah, but like any of those guys, like if you get into OT with like a guy
Yeah.
that just like is just gonna hit you in the face, like yeah, bet on them.
Absolutely. I mean, fucking even Roshan Johnson might be in that category a little bit.
Yeah,
If the Bears can commit to rushing with him.
I mean, he did vulture. He is the new league vulturing touchdown running back.
Yeah, he is the touchdown vulture running back. Yeah,
like he definitely stole like 2 touchdowns from like DeAndre Swift, who did all the work.
I don't know. The Bears and
Bears suck.
The Chiefs and the Raiders. I just hate watching their games. I'm so bored. Oh, and of course New England. I've hated watching New England for a while. And now Miami, unfortunately. Like the brand of football that they're putting out there is just so ass. And the Chiefs is particularly grating because of just it's always primetime, and it's just like Chris Collinsworth or Joe Buck just like, just talking about.
Even though they're not passing, and he's like Mahomes is being a check down merchant, and it's just like
the call that Joe, I think it was
Mahomes.
Joe Buck. The call Joe Buck made, or maybe it was Aikman, after Mahomes had an incompletion on third down.
How on Mahomes like to throw an incompletion?
No. He said something along the lines of, you see, Mahomes sometimes he just sees the field too well, and then sometimes has misfires like that. I'm like, what are you saying?
That sounds like Collinsworth.
What the? No, it was the last game, which was Aikman and Buck.
It does sound like Collinsworth,
and then
it has to be Aikman. So here, I'll hit you with the Aikman here.
So the other thing,
Mahomes just seems to the field too well. I did bad.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That was bad.
It was a bad job.
It's pretty much. It's pretty much what he's saying.
At least I know it.
So not only do the Chiefs have this, I mean, it's really not their fault that like their entire offense is injured, and they've kind of been shoehorned into this like weird 14 personnel style offense where they're elevating practice squad tight ends to start for them, and they're running the ball like crazy. 27 handoffs to Kareem Hunt. Really, what year is this? But the issue I have with watching the Chiefs is like the blatant no calls like is annoying as hell. I just expect the team to lose. Like I had no chance the Saints winning this week because I knew there would just be a bunch of PI calls that wouldn't get called, and there were some calls against the Chiefs. I was like, wow, they actually called something there. But it's a theme at this point.
I think we got to call it
happening, right?
Well, you got to call it for what it is, right? Because this shit happened to the Packers under Aaron Rodgers. It's star quarterback bias.
Yeah,
like, it's also this is
the hype around the quarterback.
This is like if the NFL can if they can somehow manage get the Chiefs into the Super Bowl, that's ratings gold for them.
Yeah,
and then if the Chiefs can become an actual three-peat dynasty, that's bringing in new fans. That's growing the game, and they know that. Like the NBA didn't become the NBA until Magic Johnson and Larry Bird made the two largest, most important markets for the NBA a thing with a rivalry. The NFL knows that, and if they can get somehow they can get the Chiefs in and they somehow win, they know that that's what they're looking at.
Right.
I mean, if the NFL salivates at a Kansas City, San Francisco Super Bowl again, or at San Francisco, LA, or at Kansas City, LA.
Dude, if they could get the Giants in there, if the Giants didn't suck
Jets, what they really want is Aaron Rodgers.
That's why the Jets, the Aaron Rodgers Jets, to do it, but
they want that to be they want that to be the AFC Championship for sure. They want Aaron Rodgers to play against fucking Mahomes. And then they want to go on, and then what they really want is the Niners or something fun like the Lions to happen, because the Lions.
The NFC doesn't really matter.
We don't, or the Eagles. They really like the Eagles too.
It.
But the media. So I can't. I don't like the Chiefs not because of the Chiefs. It's all the bullshit surrounding the Chiefs. Like when I'm watching a Chiefs game, it's like the clear bias by the commentators, the questionable reffing decisions, and then that whole shtick with Pat Mahomes last year throwing a hissy fit over the offensive or the false start thing, and he was like, "We never call that," and he was all fucking pissed off, and Kadarius Toney and the pass, that it was just, that rubbed me the wrong way. I can forgive that, but the other thing,
there's plenty of other reasons to hate the fucking Chiefs.
Well, the other thing is like,
they're an organization that's very willing to put up with a lot of shitty fucking people.
They're also a terrible organization.
Well,
according to players.
So when I'm watching their games again, and I'm talking about just the product on the screen, right? The offense is bad, all the favoritism, and then there's constantly, it's cutting to commercial breaks and stuff because penalty on the other team. And here's another DraftKings commercial or whatever, and then it's like I see Pat Mahomes in a commercial, I see the Kelsey brothers in a commercial, and then they're advertising like some weird show that's coming on some network about how they're going to get all the wives and girlfriends of all the Chiefs players or some. I'm just like, I don't care. Oh, yeah. Can we stop with like just glazing the fuck out of the Chiefs? And like, I'm watching the game, even in the commercials, I'm hearing about the Chiefs. It's not balanced enough, and it's just not. It's too much. And then 3 or 4 shots at Taylor Swift, and wow, Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. Have you heard? I'm just so tired of that.
Yeah, I just don't give a fuck anymore.
It's I used to love watching the
Chiefs. That is part of the ratings machine, though. Like, it's part of
the penalties is part of how they sell commercials with the ratings. Like, they can, if they can throw penalties and they can tell the refs to throw penalties, and make sure that they hit a quota, you can sell more commercials. And they're 100% doing that because they know they can make more money off that. That's why
it's why primetime games have more ticky-tack fucking calls. Like, they know more eyes are on them. If you want a cleaner game, watch a 10 a.m. game. 10 a.m. games are the cleanest games in football, in terms of football. And, like, there's no penalties. No one's throwing any shit. Like, unless it's really egregious, like...
I don't necessarily know that it's like a guise by the NFL to like sell commercials or whatever, but
I do. I think it is.
I absolutely think it is.
I think football is just a convenient way to make money.
Of course.
It's a convenient way to sell a media product, and the best way to sell a media product and make money off of a media product is to sell your $1 million 30-second slot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good product, though. Like, even though I'm sitting here complaining about how Chiefs games are boring,
we're watching 18 and a half minutes of real football in a 3-hour broadcast.
It is a huge scam.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy. A 30-minute condensed game contains 50% filler.
I mean,
and replay.
I mean, you're actually watching, a full hour, but like, it's
of actual play.
It's a full hour of actual play. Bullshit. No, it's not. How much time is spent in between every single snap, wasting clock?
Well, I mean, that's my complaint about this like hyper focus on the run game early. It's like,
no, that's been football for years.
Nah,
that's the whole thing.
2021, 2020.
Growing up,
there was a whole thing.
Controlling the clock has always been a thing. It has always been a part of it. Like, growing up, watching football, we've been caring about this for 30 fucking years. Like, the stats of actual football per game is not changed for a long time. It's somewhere between 17 to 19 minutes per game.
I mean, if you want to talk about, like, we're talking about the difference between the rules, like the rules of how the clock works versus like action. If you're talking about just action, yeah, it's like 15, 18
minutes. I'm talking about like the time that plays are being run.
We're not talking about regulation.
Right, but the thing is though,
the time that actual amount of time that plays are being run, that players are actively working on the field. That football is happening.
Well, really, what's your expectation there?
Football's happening with but still, like, there's 18 or so minutes. Like,
I mean, the expectation is that you're stuffing your face with snacks.
No. What's your expectation from like an entertainment standpoint? It's like, look how many injuries happen.
Oh, the
No, I know,
expectation
it's-
of
You want like
yeah.
twice as much injury and like risk and like the
Well,
game
I'm
is
just-
physical as hell.
the expectation of entertainment is just that. It's the same as every video game, movie, book, TV show. It's I don't turn it off. I don't go away from it. That's it.
Yeah, I want games
That's
like
it.
I want games
That's-
like the Seahawks Lions game last week. I
Football
want that every
is-
week. At least
I
one of
mean,
those
like,
games.
I'll say, despite that criticism, I'm a fan, man. I watch all the Packers games. I
Yeah.
watch every 18 minutes of them. Like,
Yeah.
and I watch all the 3 hours of it for those 18 minutes.
This has
But,
been
like-
a riveting conversation. I do want to make one more point since we went
Yeah,
way off
we went
tangent.
way off on this for
Yeah.
about like
Okay.
40 minutes.
I-
All right, let's circle back to buy stuff.
Okay. One serious thing though about buys that is not football related, that is 100% football related, is the more IR spots that you have filled up, the harder it is. Like, there's just a general correlation to how hard your buys are going to be because you have less flexibility with not only like
Right.
your players but your actual roster spots that you can keep, because there's not like you're not going to be able to find consistently players on the waiver wire that'll be relevant for you to play on your bye weeks, because that's just like the randomness is going to be a thing. Like, if you look at like the difference between Skot's bench and like Trevor's bench, Trevor has 4 really important offensive players on there. Like, his bye weeks, unless like he gets really lucky with just like how that was scheduled, will be a lot worse than somebody who's got like, 5 IDP players, which
What?
Skot, I know you do not have 5 IDP players, but the same idea. Like,
Well, it matters on like if those 5 IDP players are like if you're Danny, like Danny is in hell. Pretty much all
With
of his
injuries
important
too. I mean, like,
players are hurt.
the thing is that injuries always magnify the effect of buy, and
Yeah.
buys magnify the effect of injuries, right? Like, those two working together create huge holes in rosters where you thought you had some stability, and those weaknesses lose you gains week to week, and like, so it is something you want to plan around if you can, but Dynasty doesn't offer you as much flexibility in planning around it unless you are making proactive trades, which
In
again
this
this speaks to the importance of doing trades.
I think in this league though, the 2 positions where that's not really going to be true, and that's just how we play versus like a general fantasy thing, is we're going to be able to find D linemen and we're going to be able to find cornerbacks like pretty easily to
Well,
plug
DBs.
in,
Right.
because
Yeah, DBDL will be yeah.
there's enough boom bust in them. There's enough of them on the waiver wire that people will be able
Right.
to find those. I'm not
Yeah,
so
you
sure
can
about
usually-
like the same level of linebackers as like if
I
you were to
mean-
lose like Fred Warner.
The thing is that there are
You'll
2
be able to find
backers per
some
team on the field for 100% of the snaps, and there's maybe 3 or 4 DBs that would be on for 80 to 90% of the snaps.
Oh, that's all scheme related. That's not necessarily
No,
true.
but I mean, sure, but like, even then, if you're like in a standard defense, you're playing at least 3 DBs every snap, right?
Right, but they have different
Probably
packages
4.
where they rotate
Probably
out.
4 DBs every snap
or 2
per
safeties, 2
team
corners,
in a
sometimes
base
5
defense.
to
2
nickel.
corners, 2 safeties. Sometimes, yeah, exactly. Sometimes, but still,
Right.
4 DBs standard, right? 4 per team. Theoretically, if they're in base the entire time, are playing 100% of the snap, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
that's not going to be the case, but you're going to have 3 or 4 per, probably 2 to 3 actually per team that are playing 100% of the snaps, and then another 2 to 3 that are playing 80 to 90. Because there's
Depending on-
relatively few,
Depending on your-
and that's just like an acceptable amount of snaps to play with for a DB. So we have like an absolute glut of DBs, because there are, contrary to my statements at the beginning of the year, the data has shown that there are a number of great cornerbacks that are consistently good enough for fantasy, and that has been a really wonderful thing to see on Toolstools. So cool, glad to see data showing me up, and I'm happy to be wrong about that. But
I mean, the same thing
yeah.
though. Your same points can just be like copy and pasted over the DL. Like, you've got
Yes.
like a bunch
Absolutely.
of players all playing 50% of the snaps that are all situational pass rushers that like on any
Right.
given week can get you a sack. Like,
Yep.
you can go find a guy and play a matchup if you want. Like, You don't have to have like TJ Watt like on waivers to like be comfortable playing somebody in a week.
Your strategy can be streaming DL. Absolutely. You can't. I don't think you could stream any offensive position. You could stream.
We can't.
Quarterback
No.
just because everyone has like 3 or 4 quarterbacks, right? You could stream
Then
matchups
that's
from your
you can
bench.
stream
That's not really streaming though. Like,
It is though, because you're not just if you don't have Josh Allen or somebody.
principle is the same. The action is different.
Playing a matchup off your bench is different than streaming, which I feel like is talking about the waiver.
I mean,
Yeah,
when you're
it's gray
talking about
area.
when you're
It's
talking
a-
about dynasty, it's like
almost.
benches are so. We talked about it a couple weeks
the
ago.
The benches are huge.
You have to trade to get players. Like if you want actual
Right.
players, you're not getting them off the waiver wire.
No way.
So
Not
You
unless
can't-
it's
there's
injury
no
related.
draft. I mean, like maybe there's some draft and develop action if you're willing to be patient. But if you really want to be players to be competitive, you have to.
or just hope that you have a really, really deep bench and get lucky and don't get too many injured key players.
Or you get the next Puka.
Or you get the next.
I mean, it is. Or you bank on injuries to other key players and hope that your guys take up the slack. And sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. I mean, like all of these are options, but not great.
Buys matter a lot more in Dynasty because of the lack of flexibility. It is just harder to do anything about it, and that's why it's more important than in redraft.
The other thing is that week to week it changes too. Like once you hit the middle of the season, which is we're in squarely, every week there's a different set of players that are going to be unavailable around the league, and then everyone's disproportionately affected. Like this week you were hit really hard, or last week you were hit really hard.
Both last and this week.
Well, both.
Joe's gonna be hit really hard.
Last week was.
But
rough.
then we're going to be pretty
Last
much
week,
out of
week
it.
five
Then we're
was
going to
the
be
real one.
Jordan had a really
you're going
rough
to be
week
out of the
as well.
out of the woods largely, right?
No,
I mean,
it's
not
I
really.
mean, there's
Given,
more.
I mean, it's
It's
yes
always
and
more.
no, but that's more situational. Like Deshaun still sucks. That hasn't changed.
Sure. Yeah.
certain teams having buys matters more than others too. Like this week,
Yeah.
it was the Lions, Chargers, Eagles, and Titans. Those are not all like equal in terms of fantasy value.
About half of those matter.
Well, all of them except the Titans, because the Lions have Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Jared Goff,
Yeah, it's true.
Sam Laporta,
Laporta.
Jameson Williams, Aiden
I
Hutchinson.
mean, the
Brian
Lions
Branch.
are supporting a huge number of fantasy relevant
That's
players
like-
right now. It is like crazy.
The
That's
Eagles
so
had
many.
both wide receivers, Goddard.
Yeah, both
Jalen
wide
Hurts.
receivers, Goddard, Reed Blankenship, Saquon, Zach Bond,
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. And then the Chargers have Khalil Mack, J.K. Dobbins, Justin Herbert, Lavin Conkey, Derwin James.
Huge. No,
Um,
I'm just kidding. No,
I mean,
I'm not going to disrespect Huge like that. He
I
can
mean,
still
yeah,
be
he isn't like a difference maker right now, but the Titans,
Doors.
Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, Ernest Jones,
Will Levis?
L'Jarius Sneed, Jeffrey Simmons. Like the Titans are
Oh.
gross. Not a yeah, they're
Well, none of the wide receivers are relevant. D-Hop and Calvin Ridley are not relevant.
well. D-Hop was a lot more relevant last year when they had a different quarterback. Now that Will Levis is the starter, he needs to be better.
Levis is bad. That's
Yeah, Levis. Well, Levis has the same problem that Anthony Richardson has. Is that he can't put he still has not figured out how to put touch on the ball.
He looks like a
And
rookie.
keep velocity.
he didn't develop it all. I guess I don't know what's up with that.
It's also that like that's a hard
Coaching.
skill, and like
Yeah, it is a hard skill, but
it's a hard skill, and like I mean, it's the difference between like why he slid to the like whatever the second round or
Second round.
like early second.
Second.
Early, so he was like pick 34 or something.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Drake May was the third overall pick, and Jaden Daniels was the second. Is because both of those guys could do that. Whether or not they're going to be good for their careers is different, but like the reason you go in the first round versus the second round is like, yes, you have a giant cannon of an arm, like you have some physical traits, but you just don't know how to play quarterback.
Well, you have let's compare two second round quarterbacks. Then it's like you got Will Levis, who you can see, is struggling. He makes really poor decisions, but the physical tools are there. And then you have like someone like Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder wasn't a second rounder.
Who was terrible. I thought he was a second rounder.
I don't think so.
Third. He went in the third. Jalen Hurts is a good example.
He was a
second rounder working out.
Yeah, a second rounder working out.
Yeah,
no
Desmond Ridder was a third rounder. You're right. Yeah. But still, not a day one pick and struggled. Like, I don't see what I see. I don't see anything in Desmond Ridder, but I can see a path to viability, a path to a starting quarterback in Levis. I think, though, at the point that he is at now and where his career trajectory is looking like it'll end up, it'll be like a backup quarterback that bounces between team to team and then plays a lot of games because of injury. Kind of like,
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick is like the GOAT of the journeyman quarterback. So like that's a pretty high, like more like a Jameis.
If he has a Fitzpatrick level career, then that will be good for him.
That'd be amazing.
I think at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the problem with Levis is that he has no one to develop him around him. He's just not. He doesn't have.
Well, also, like, he's got the same problem that Drake May is going to have. Is like the infrastructure has on paper some decent, like some stuff, but like when it really matters for development, like an O-line, you couldn't have gone into a worse situation.
Or talk about. I mean, like maybe he gets a Darnold. Maybe he gets to be Darnold one of these days. A similar situation. But Darnold was top 3 picks, so
yeah.
Darnold had like all the tools, and like just like Drake May, like part of his scouting profile was like, oh, he can throw the ball with touch and he can move and blah blah blah. He was like, it's like and he has the arm and like all the traits. He was another trait.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Will Levis was like really hyped up for his physical traits, and then also just the fact that he played in an offense that was more mature. It was like it was marketed as a
Will Levis
system that he came from. So
Will Levis, he got hyped up by his agent.
No, his draft hype was real. I think the draft hype was very real. I don't think that the actual draft community was as high as the draft hype ever got. Like, I think that's really what it was. Because, like, any of the draft stuff that I listened to was like, Will Levis is going to be taken in the first round because he's a quarterback, not because he's a first round.
So the 2023 draft basically rolled off the 2 top quarterbacks. They were saying the entire offseason it was some combination of Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Will Anderson. That was the combination of like in what order are those players going to go?
Right, no, it was.
But hold on. And then this is what happened. Bryce Young went after Carolina did their trade. And then CJ Stroud got picked, and then the Texans really threw a wrench in things by trading up to get Will Anderson immediately after that. And then and then Anthony, I can't forget Anthony Richardson. He was also in that conversation, but he was the last.
He wasn't. Anthony Richardson was always projected to go somewhere in the like 6 to 8 range, though.
Right.
No, he was going 20th at the beginning of like after the Senior Bowl when he was like the monster, or like in that process from the Senior Bowl to the Combine, he was squarely in the 20s, like late first. Then he went to the Combine and destroyed it, and everybody was like, "Oh, why would we ever take Will Levis if we can get the same thing except more athletic from Anthony Richardson?"
For Richardson,
that's what happened.
Yeah,
right. So after Richardson went, then Seattle picks Devin Witherspoon, and then there was just basically a roll.
We hit the run on
much
IDP,
as soon as that first...
and like nobody needs a quarterback for a long fucking time. And then it's like, well, I guess the Titans come along.
Yeah, he quickly became an afterthought. I mean, there was a lot of players that went off the board after that wasn't quarterback.
Yeah,
So
I mean, in that draft too,
he fell for a lot of reasons.
That was like also it was one of the few drafts in recent memory that didn't have a bunch of like superstar wide receiver projections. Like they had the run of like JSN, Jordan Addison, Say Flowers, and Huge, but like none of them were like the None of them were Jamar.
They weren't projected to be world breakers. Yeah, like they were just going to be good.
There was hype around JSN the year before as being a top 10 guy, but he got hurt.
He didn't show out. Yeah,
well, no, he got hurt like that year and didn't play a lot, so he wasn't going to be like that's just part of the draft process. He wasn't going to be.
I mean, JSN is still way good. Like,
I expect him to be a number one.
I tried to trade for him. I sent a pretty fair offer, but it was rejected.
I would not have. You told me what it was. I would not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I can't blame the rejection on it though. Like,
I also
think put out feelers every once in a while.
I think it's also the same thing though with if anybody's going to try and get a Packer off of you and Ben or who's it, Matt?
Yeah.
The Packer
fan? Ben, me, Ben, and Matt.
Have to pay a premium.
There's a little premium on there. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, you're not getting Kenneth Walker off of me for a 3rd and a 4th round pick. Come on.
You gotta make those choices. You gotta make those offers. Sometimes
no, you don't. You don't make those offers, dude. No, you actually come correct with a real offer somebody's gonna actually consider. Otherwise, you're gonna be turned into the guy who gives bad offers.
That's fair.
Like you actually have to, like, especially if you're coming for somebody like. If I tried to trade you for if I tried to get Jaden Reed off you for a second, you would laugh me out of whatever chat.
Oh, I would too. I'm not even.
Everybody would. Like that's the point. Is like that's a bad offer.
Right. I mean, that'd be a bad offer regardless of the player, too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but if you were to do the same thing with like Devin Witherspoon, I would do the same thing.
Right. Yeah. It's fair. It's fair.
Well, I have one more thing. I have a hot take that I want to talk about before we get out of here.
Oh.
Okay.
I think Spencer Rattler is going to be a QB1 for the Saints for the rest of the season. I think Derek Carr loses his job this week.
You think he's going to...
I don't think he starts again.
Here's a really fun idea. Here's a really fun idea. What do you think the Saints trade for Devontae Adams and then bench Derek Carr for the rest of
That would be spicy as hell.
And then he never throws the Devontae ever.
Possibility. Like,
because he's named the Saints as a place he wants to go. He wants to follow Carr.
I think it's a real possibility. Part of like
what do the Saints have to lose?
Behind Spencer Rattler was that he had that Netflix doc that made him look like a complete tool, and he fell in the draft because NFL teams are stupid, and like he's like kind of the prototypical 2nd round pick, like all the traits, kind of dumb, and like still has to learn, like that's the standard.
It sounds like you're saying he's young. Like,
yeah,
typically teams view that as an asset.
Well, it's the part where it's the personality traits. That's the dumb part. Like, he did some dumb stuff, and so that's why he would not be a first rounder. But he has he has the arm talent. He's got like all the traits, like the accuracy, all the stuff you can start poking holes in. But like, he was your classic second round pick. Like, if you were lucky, he'd fall into day 3. He went
5th round,
like 4th round,
5th round.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, he's a classic 3rd round pick that somebody should pick.
And I mean, we're not even talking about like a Stetson Bennett scenario here, right? Like, we're just talking about character issues.
Yeah,
quote unquote. This
is, like all the character issues were from that Netflix doc where he was a complete tool and douchebag, and that was like when he was in middle school.
Sensationalized everything. Like, come on.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah, NFL dumb.
He was basically intimating.
He's had a time to be coached and grown in that time.
He was intimating that his receivers were trash and that he was way better than everybody on the team. Which, that's kind of
not a good look.
Not a good look when you're supposed to be a quarterback and the leader.
And a leader, yeah. And it's also there was a contingent of the draft analyst world that was like, Spencer Rattler is never going to make it. And then there's another half that said, like, he could be something. And so he's probably somewhere in the middle of either being something or being nothing and not being great. But at this point, being something is essentially what Derek Carr is, except that, Spencer Rattler is a 5th round pick on a 5th round contract.
Yeah, that's why my hot take
is
that he's the QB1 of the future for the Saints.
I honestly,
it's a hot take.
Targus,
that's my hot take.
I don't know how hot that take is.
No, it's hot, but it's not like it's within the range of outcomes for fucking sure.
It is not.
My take
is it. It's like Derek Carr has always been a stopgap option. He was never long term. They were planning to do something, and I think they got their opportunity with Rattler. And I think that I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think that this was always part of the plan. It just happened a little bit.
I don't know if well, here's the thing: is I don't know that a 5th round rookie was their plan. I don't think their plan was to let's get a bridge quarterback.
That's
and then
fair.
Draft a rookie in the 5th round, and then he'll be the guy. No, I'm sure
they
view
him.
I think
it's hard to ignore value in the 5th round when you see a guy who rightfully should be a 3rd rounder come to you in the 5th round, and you need that position anyway. Like, why not roll the dice on it?
Well, they drafted him as a backup.
I think the reason that
I don't
was always within the range of outcomes.
Derek Carr is your backup.
No, he's their QB1. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
he's their QB1.
Just because we don't like Derek Carr doesn't mean he's not a QB1.
Like, there's nothing good about Derek. Like,
Derek Carr is an empty stats merchant. He's not like a long-term.
There's nothing good about Derek Carr.
Like the Spencer Rattler range of outcomes was always going to play because at a certain point they do need to move on from Derek Carr. And also, if he works out, then you got a guy, and if he doesn't, you got a good draft pick, and then you can go get a guy.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's basically free real estate.
Yeah.
So Spencer Rattler definitely was going to start at some point this year.
Somebody
that was going to happen. Like, that's not a hot take. Like, injury made it happen sooner in the year than we all expected, but it's not a hot take that it's happening.
This will be interesting though because
Scott's actual take is that
he's going to take over for the rest of the year. I don't think that's wild either. I don't think that's wild at all.
You are on my hot. You agree with my hot take then? That's a hot take.
Yeah, I do.
That's a hot take.
My hot take is the magma thin razor of like, yeah, this was always the plan.
Steve, that is a hot take in and of itself. That's not. That was definitely not their plan.
5th round pick was, dude. That just means that
no.
That means the Saints are the worst run organization in the league. That's what that means.
I think that's how
we're gonna shake the 5th rounder. He's gonna be our QB1. Like, dude, that's like.
No,
even the Packers traded up and to piss Aaron Rodgers off. At least they had a plan.
It worked. They got him.
It worked. Yeah, sure.
It did work. Yeah, it did work.
Like what you're saying is like the Saints are the worst organization.
Watch Rattler work, and this entire
he's gonna work it. He's gonna
he's gonna work it. I bet he's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be good. I think it'll be fun.
Brock Purdy, who?
I'm team Rattler. I'm team.
Yeah, me too, bro.
I wanted rattlesnake drop.
I wanted Seattle to draft him in the 4th, but they got Tyrese Knight and AJ Barner instead. And I was like, okay, we need a quarterback, and Spencer Rattler was there. Okay.
Spencer Rattler was there in the 4th, and AJ Barner was taken instead. Yeah,
I don't
AJ Barnburner, the blocking tight end. Let's go.
Yeah, he got a touchdown pass this week.
He did.
I didn't catch that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I had, guys.
Oh, Scott, no. You know who the Seahawks are going to draft for their QB? For their QB need? And Cam Ward. Book it.
I think it's Ewers.
No, he's going to go too high.
They're probably going to trade up for him then because he's a Schneider guy. Schneider likes him. So I think it's going to be Ewers. We'll see if it's Cam Ward or Ewers.
I think it's Cam Ward.
We'll see.
All right. I hear some chaos in the background, so I should probably go check that out. So.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Address your chaos, friend.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, good luck with your fantasy matchups this week, for sure.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Have a great week. And, I will...
Remember that defense
I'll be in touch about... Yeah, I'll be in touch about delivering this fucking... Yeah, fuck you. It's the wrong direction, so... and then we'll just leave on this. Like, this has got to be the cover photo for the for the episode here.
Oh, that
is
was
the
last
Kyle
week.
Pitts.
I did that last
Oh
week.
shit!
I'll find a new
Well,
one.
damn it.
I'll find a new
All
one.
right, yeah, we'll figure something out. But this is still really
that was
good.
too
Like,
good.
yeah, I'll figure out a way to deliver this to you soon. Like, I'll be in touch. Like, I got some time, so
That's badass.
I'll be.
It's hilarious.
Actually, you know what? If you're gonna be around tomorrow, I can drop it off.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. Cool. We'll talk.
All right.
All right.
Later, guys.
Peace.
Later.